your work is like performing at a really incredible scale. I think you did last year alone, like over 100 million views on your comedy.
I want to be like the best, like best writer, best performer, best everything.
Do you have aspirations to do a special with like a Netflix, or do you feel like you're already doing it?
As best as I can, the two things I'm looking to do now are like...
I think like a lot of creators need to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like I needed to hear that right now.
Something we haven't talked about is The Daily Show.
Welcome to The Daily Show. I'm Josh Johnson.
Do you remember the joke or jokes that lost the room?
I was just like, y'all heard about these sharks? I am a problem.
How do you view the structure of a joke?
I think you laugh for a few different reasons. If you are starting YouTube right now, what you don't want to have happen is...
Today's guest is comedian Josh Johnson.
Josh is doing something super unique, not only in the world of stand-up comedy, but also on YouTube. Traditionally, comedians will put out an hour special after going out and touring and really workshopping it. Josh is putting out a weekly special every single Tuesday on his YouTube channel.
And it's working. These uploads are doing between like 1 and 5 million views, and his channel has gotten over 350 million views. And all this success has actually landed him a hosting spot on The Daily Show, which is really cool to see.
Comedians are absolutely some of my favorite people to have on the show because they are such good observers of the human condition. They are incredible writers, and writing is the basis of everything that we do on YouTube.
I think the other thing that makes Josh and other comedians really unique is that they're doing their craft in front of people on like a regular basis. For Josh, it's every weekend. He's out on the road. He's performing his ideas and his writing, his stand-up in front of a live audience. So no one gets more feedback than comedians, and they get to use that and craft it into new material. And that's pretty similar to what we do as creators. It's just the stakes are a lot higher and they're seeing the audience in person. And I think there's a lot to learn from people like Josh, and something that we get into is what you can learn from that feedback loop as a creator.
So no one is doing what Josh Johnson is doing. So he has a very unique point of view on what it means to not only write comedy, but also publish to YouTube.
We were really excited when Josh said yes to coming on the show. We've been wanting to chat with him for a long time. I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. Here's our conversation with Josh Johnson. You're a self-proclaimed awkward person.
Yeah. I would proclaim, it's more admitted. Self-admitted.
Self-admitted.
Than like proclaim. Because I don't even say I'm awkward like loud or with pride. Do you know what I mean? I don't walk, I'm awkward. It's more like, no.
It's not like a bit.
I am a problem.
So
like it's more that energy.
Just to check in before we really get going, like how should we approach this conversation with you?
I don't think there's anything you can do
Okay.
that would make me not be me.
Okay. Got it.
Like there's nothing, I'm not trying to say there's nothing you could do right as in you're doing things wrong. There's nothing that you could do to save what I'm about to do to this episode.
To this show.
Yeah.
So we should wrap it up.
And that's me trying to put you at ease. You know what it is? Okay. Do you ever get into a space where like the bus is a good example, where like the first person you make eye contact with on the bus, it's like an unsettling eye contact. So you don't know which one of you is crazy, but y'all looked at each other at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing now. Like, it's like, because it's like, because I'm not trying to be some type of way, but I can tell that y'all are like, ooh, how do we calm him down? But it's like, no, it genuinely feels, for you, I'm imagining, this is me imagining now.
Sure.
I don't know if you ever met like, this happened to me when I met my friend's dog. And the dog immediately, because he didn't get to meet me at the door, I was already in the house. And then he was like, yo, is this dude supposed to be in here?
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, because then I met him alone, which is also not ideal. Because my friend lets me in and then he leaves the room.
No context for why you're
So then the dog walks in. I'm like, hey, bending my knees, like, hey, buddy, hey. Yeah. And he's like, I don't know you though.
Yeah, he's like, and you're making it worse.
Yeah, you're making it worse.
He's like, other people have been cool in here?
I'm like, how you gonna move? Because I won't move if you don't move. Yeah. And then the dog was also like, are you about to be a problem? Should I run? I don't know what to do. And that's what this feels like. Yeah, between the three of us.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Josh Johnson, welcome to the show.
Yeah. I feel like if we reset every time, it'll finally feel comfortable and normal. Like the sixth time that we do it.
We'll get somewhere by
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we've been watching your stuff for a while.
Oh, thanks,
I
man.
think I find like comedy in general fascinating, and comedy at the intersection of YouTube is like so interesting to me. Self-distributed comedy is very interesting to me. And you do this very interesting thing on YouTube that you put out like essentially the equivalent to what a comedian would put out as a special, but you do it every week.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those pieces is actually on the ballot to win an Emmy.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that's happened for a comedian distributing a special exclusively on YouTube.
Yeah, I think if we get nominated, it'll be the first time it's happened. Yeah. So like we are fingers crossed for like a nomination, and the nomination alone would be the first time that it happened. Much less like if you win one, but yeah.
So I think like a lot of time, the reason why this is so different, if you just zoom out in the world of comedy, it's like a typical comedian spends a ton of time crafting material. Then they'll go into comedy clubs and try out the material, and over the year build their special. And they'll finally have an hour of material. And then they'll record their special, and then they'll take it to market, or maybe they have a production partner at HBO or Netflix or something. And so comedians can be very precious with their material. Even sometimes when you go watch a comedian, you got to put your phone in one of those like protector pouches so you don't film them. But you're putting out stuff at a pretty rapid pace. Like, when did that come to you of, you know what, I'm just going to put this stuff out. I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm not going to save it for my special. I'm just going to put these out as YouTube videos.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I was writing a lot. Even before I felt like I was any good at stand-up, really, I was writing a lot from the time that I was doing. Maybe I was like 2 years in, I was writing all the time. And then my friends would say, who are other comics, would be like, oh, you know, I don't see you do the same set. Or I saw you last week and you were talking about different stuff and everything. And I hadn't thought of a way to release it, because at the same time, you're like this up and coming open micer. So it's like no one's really checking for what you're doing anyway. And so it really was through realizing that so much of the stuff that I was writing and performing was like going nowhere, because by the time I had done a special or two, it had kind of become this issue where it was hard to pick what to do, because I had all this stuff that I could choose from, which is a good thing. That's like a blessing to have. But then it was getting to be a problem of like, and do I wait again? And do I wait again? And so I felt like there was no way that I could give away too much, really. When you think of how big the world is, how many people there are to make laugh, and how many topics there are to talk about, you can't really give away too many things. And I just was watching the structure of how comedy works as far as like getting paid to put your comedy out, and watch it stifle and trip up people who want to release on schedule. But then let's say you know, because this happened to me. You're supposed to do your special with like Comedy Central, let's say, and then the pandemic hits. So then the taping is postponed for like 8 months. Right. Well, it's like 8 months later, I'm doing a bunch of different stuff, because I didn't really stop doing shows during the pandemic. So I would go and do like rooftop shows, like whatever social distancing shows, things like stuff in the park or whatever. And then like as things started to open up, I started doing clubs again. And so I never really stopped. And so by the time it was time to tape, it was kind of a hurry up and wait scenario, where finally when we went ahead and got the opportunity to do the Comedy Central thing, I was like, well, I don't really want to do the stuff that I was doing pre-COVID. And so I just spent maybe like a week and a half just like writing as much as I could that was in the context of what was happening now, just so that I would be performing these things in a way that felt fresh. And so once I did that one time, I was like, oh, I feel like if I can do that, I should do that, because it keeps everything as raw and as like honest and interesting as possible.
Was there a moment for you, though, that you figured out what it means to upload and perform on YouTube? Because I think it's one thing to film your set and put it out on YouTube. And even if it's good, it may actually not travel because of titles and thumbnails.
Sure. I mean, that was the whole thing of uploading to YouTube has kind of been a practice in letting go. It's like I spend the week writing, and then I spend the weekend performing, and then the video gets made. And then there are these extra factors that you just don't control. And it's something that anyone who uploads to YouTube goes through. Like you may have, as far as whether you want to call it like a short film, content, whatever you have, and it may even be a good length. So anyone who gets into it could really get into you and really get to know you and what you make. But then the thumbnail's off-putting or the first few seconds aren't interesting. Like that starts to get into stuff that not only am I not necessarily as good at, but is not the heart of what I'm doing as stand-up. So much of what I'm doing is about making sure the people there, the people at the show, are having the best time possible. Because I think that's what translates. I think that if you create for the people who are here right now, there's nowhere that I should be and should be thinking about than right here, right now with the two of you. And the show works the same way. The people here at the show are the people that I'm doing these jokes for and the people that I'm talking to. And then if we create something together, because it's like a communal thing, like even though I'm the one talking and they still have to laugh, they still have to be into it, they still have to respond. That thing going out into the world has a bit more leverage to be interesting, you know, and sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you get the right thumbnail, you get the right music, you get the right everything, and maybe they don't stay as long. Maybe the retention isn't there because the actual thing might not be good. So it's the most important thing is for the show that I'm performing at right then and there to be good. I not only don't always know the right ways to like get people's attention or hold people when it comes to YouTube, but I also if I start thinking about that stuff, but I'm here doing the show for the people that are in the room, who knows, I might be doing a disservice to the people who are in the room. You know,
Totally.
And then you get on this hamster wheel of everything you do is for everyone that's going to be there next time. And so now you're in because no one, in my opinion at least, it's not the way that I perform, and I think that it hurts your performance if you're going to be doing that. But that goes for anything. It's like, imagine if you're sitting here with me right now thinking about the next person that you have to interview. Is this going to be as good? And so everything that you make, being that level of present is something that I at least hope translates, and I hope is what brings people into what I'm doing.
Yeah, we talk about that with creators too, of create for the audience you currently have, not the audience you don't have, right? Like if you have 20,000 people who are very engaged in something you're also engaged in too, right? Even for us early on talking about YouTube creators in 2018, there weren't a lot of people doing it, but we were really into it. And even if there's only 15,000 people that show up, that's 15,000 people that are like, I'm here for you. And the same thing that you guys are really passionate about, I'm passionate about. Yeah. But if we try and craft a title and a thumbnail and a concept for 1 million people, we may actually completely overshoot and miss the 15 that are really like into what we're doing right now.
Yeah. The thing that keeps me not just like in awe, but focused on doing things that way is like Tiny Desk. It's like Tiny Desk is for the people there. We already know half these songs usually. By the time someone does a Tiny Desk, they're not always insanely popular, but a lot of times they are. So it's like people half performing discography and then half performing brand new stuff maybe. And it's for very few people in the moment, but them just having fun with those people there is what keeps people going to a Tiny Desk of a song they've heard before, of a performance they've seen before, maybe even live. And so I think that by your attention and intention, you can make things special that maybe other people would not recognize as like special outright. Like if you pitch them this thing, they may not get it. But then when you see it, and before you know it, you've been watching for 15 minutes, I think that's what makes things stick. You know? Yeah,
that like community element translates. With Tiny Desk, I think about like Mac Miller or Harry Styles. There's moments where they make jokes to the room and the whole room laughs. And you kind of can't help but like smile too with them. And you're like, I'm kind of like, I'm smiling because I feel like I'm in it with those people in the room.
Right?
I think live performance also has an element of risk that a produced video doesn't have. When you're on stage, there's an element of like risk that's like, oh, you're putting it out there. If you don't hit this, it's going to be awkward in that room. Or watching you make the room laugh is actually exponentially more interesting than if it's just you riffing to the camera.
Especially if I know you didn't have that much time to write it because it's about current events.
You know
what I mean? It's like, it's always funny when you go to an actual stand-up show, and normally they won't do a long set on it. But if something happens in current events, like they will riff on it sometimes for the first like minute or two just to kind of poke around.
Yeah.
I think
that's why I think how I started with it was really important, because, you know, I would go to the Comedy Cellar and like thankfully, and like shout out to Comedy Cellar, they would, you know, tape your set and then give you your tape and everything. And the fact that there were no cuts on that tape, and the fact that the tape, because when I started out, I was just posting like 12, 15 minutes or whatever, which is the length of my set anyway. So then people could see that it was the set that I did top to bottom. And even though that room might be very small, I think the level of intention that you're showing, and the fact that it's not chopped to bits in a way that really does work when you're a creator talking to Cam about a subject and you're popping in back and forth. I think that also helped people realize that the same level of risk that I was putting on stage is the level of risk I was putting by putting the thing out. Because it's like, I'm not cutting the thing up. And so once we were able to have like two angles, once we were able to have like fail safes, and I was on the road doing it, now you'll see cuts and you'll see edits and stuff, but it's more to hopefully accentuate the joke, or, you know, just like things that make it feel like a more fun watch. Because while I think there's some real value to what I was doing at Comedy Cellar, and it's the fact that it's that one angle and it's me popping back and forth and everything, and maybe we zoom in from time to time, but it's not cutting away. I think it also has a really special place to have a more produced and polished thing, especially when you have only given yourself like maybe 5-6 days, or like 2-3 days, depending on what the thing is. You know?
Yeah, I feel like one of the reasons why, because like your work is like performing at a really incredible scale. Like we're talking in the like 1 to 4 or 5 million range of viewership. And it's like a lot of people are watching your stuff. I think you did last year alone like over 100 million views on your comedy.
I think so. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a lot, right? Like that's crazy.
I believe that's just on YouTube.
That's just on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think if you explore like what the format is and why it's native to YouTube actually, is because it's like a riff or the real life performance of commentary YouTube. And commentary YouTube is huge, right? So Drew Gooden, Danny Gonzalez, like this crew of people who comment on current events and build like interesting takes and riffs. Curtis Connor is another great example. And a lot of those guys want to go into stand-up comedy because they're essentially writers, right? They're taking, like you riffed on the one man versus 100 gorillas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like a riff that a lot of commentary creators also like, they'll pull that in and they'll edit a video. But we always talk about like things that work on YouTube are familiar and unexpected. And of course, stand-up comedy is big across every platform. But I think what you're doing is taking stand-up comedy and commentary YouTube and being like, what if they were together? What if you watched commentary YouTube, but it was on stage? Because what the difference of what you're doing is that it's so current. Like when the tariffs hit, within 6 days, I'm watching a video of you on stage in a crowd talking about the thing that I heard about 3 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, that's an interesting way to put it. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. Because to me, it's the intention is to both be talking about something current, but then blow it up to a place that is like evergreen, or a thing that is like central to people. So something that is like more universal, you know, like all these politicians, all these topics will like come and go, but the things that they leave behind are like something distinctly human that you can be revisiting all the time, and it'll actually inform the next time something happens, because you'll know what it felt like when this version of the thing happened. And even if they're not necessarily identical, I think if you can speak to something that's happening that's at the core of an issue, or at the core of a person, you create a more universal experience for everybody watching that maybe not be familiar with this individual or this situation, but they're familiar with what it feels like to be in this thing that you're describing.
Can you give us an example or expand on that?
Yeah, I think that like you even look at like 100 men versus a gorilla.
Yeah.
And there is a thing that deeper than like the scenario and anything like that, there is a thing as a man that you sort of walk through the world with of like, could I take him? Like if he came at me right now.
Be my
yeah, I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like like if somebody just ran up on me right now, it's like, what would I do? And like as a kid, sometimes you go through those scenarios in a way of play, and then it's like a young adult, especially if you take up a martial art, you take up boxing or whatever, you're like, okay, I think I'd right hook, I'd like check his chin, whatever.
By the way, 100%, I've had these thoughts.
Yeah, it's like
100%.
there's something that is happening there where I think it's because we don't need to do it anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's literally like if someone ran up on you in the street, like my man, if you ran up right now and hit me in the face, it'd be like, why? we wouldn't even be having like a whole scenario play out like a John Wick scene. It would just be like, oh, why would you? And then if I thought about it and I got mad enough, maybe I'd hit back, or maybe, you know what I mean? But like more likely in a modern society, especially in Western culture, it'd be like, bam, oh, I'm suing everyone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's where we are as people.
Right.
But the scenario still comes into play, you know, especially you see it in bar fights, you see it in all these places. And then the other thing that happens is measuring yourself up, not just against other people, but measuring yourself up against the elements.
Yes.
So now every man, and this is like, I'm not saying that no woman has ever done this, but like at least in my life, and maybe it might even be, who knows, maybe an American thing. Because I don't know how many Canadian men that are like, I think I could like kill a moose with my bare hands. Like I don't know if that's happening as much, but I know that for all the guys that I know, there's like some weird scenario that gets thrown out as a game, as a joke, as like a conversation, whatever. But then past that, there is a real thing, you know, like if you have a family and you think to yourself, if things like hit the fan, can I take care of my family? Like I don't really camp. So how quickly will we die? Because I don't know.
I don't really camp.
I don't camp, because camp is the closest that you can outside of actually being unhoused. Camp is like the only time that you're like, all right, it's me and the elements together as one, right? And so then, because those thoughts go through your head, and those thoughts have nothing to do with whether or not you could take a gorilla, whether you could take another guy. Now you're just thinking about your family. And you're like, could I take care of my family if things like, if we had to bug out, if we had to like do survival mode, whatever, right? Could I do that? And all of that, all of those like constellations of ideas and everything center back to this one thing of like how we can rope it all into like 100 men versus one gorilla. Because I think that beneath the like fun little jokey, or maybe even the like scientific question, is all of those things.
100%.
And so it's like, everything is like that. Everything, like the two sort of almost, I don't know if you'd say like mottos, but like two things that I almost try to live by because it helps color my perspective is that like everything is connected, everything and everyone. And then not that everyone is the same as in like all people are the same in like a screw society sort of way, but everyone is the same in that if I essentially was given everything that you have, and I had your background, and I had your genetic makeup, and I just had your life, I would be you. I wouldn't be me being a better you. And I think that's the misconception that a lot of big ideas and big philosophies, like potentially religion and some forms of spirituality and like whole political ideologies, they do that to a person. They're like, oh, if you could just see things my way, you'd be correct. And it's like, no, if I could see like you, I'd be you. And so now if you use those two things of everything being connected and us all being a version of what we would be like if we were each other, now you have the landscape for making, to me at least, because I'm interested in everything, you have the landscape to make everything interesting.
Wow. I've never heard that part, that second half, but I think those are really interesting ingredients. We heard a version of this from our friend Zach King, who makes like these amazing movie magic videos. You've ever seen these?
Yeah,
you know exactly
no,
what I'm talking
100%.
So he was saying like the root of his ideas come from a timeless concept, like standing in line. He was like, humans have been standing in line for, you know, forever, as far as he knows, and they probably will be standing in line for the next 100 years. So he wants to make a video, kind of a one of his, you know, magic videos that's rooted in a timeless human concept. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting way to approach modern media and virality, is actually in rooting it in something that being like, yeah, the medium is different, right? This is a new thing. It's a short form vertical
Yeah.
video that's edited, but the concept is time lapse. And I think that's kind of similar to like the trend is happening right now. So 100 men versus one gorilla is happening right now. But how do I make this a timeless discussion?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And I mean, also shout out to Zach King. He has made me drop my phone more times
dude,
than anybody. Like the way that I've dropped my phone because I thought maybe my phone was like spooky. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe it wasn't even
You're like
Zach.
tapping
Maybe
the screen.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, Zach
He'll
King
get you.
is one of the few people that can get me to react like I'm at the movies. Like the thing happens on the phone, and I'm like, oh. You know,
So true.
it's like it's almost too much. Like it's so good that I forget I'm holding a phone.
Totally.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what happened to his head?
So like his perspective was like, I need the setting to be relatable and understandable like the line. So it's like, if I want you to have that reaction upon first scroll, you need to see a setting that you understand. And
Yeah.
the context for it.
It's like
No,
someone,
for sure.
it's always like someone at their remote, you know, at their TV, and he'll
Yeah.
start there and be like, oh, I've been there before. And then it'll kind of go into a more like wild, magical experience.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot to learn from that. It's very similar to what you're saying. But I want you to take us into the process of like the 4 or 5 days of crafting a special or a joke, or like, you know, thinking through like right now, what's your next thing you're thinking through? What are you writing about right now? Because this will be out after you have already put that out.
Yeah. No, I actually, so it's Wednesday and I don't know.
And do you, so right now you upload once a week on YouTube,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
is there a specific day you upload?
Tuesday evening. So like Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah.
So you have just under a week until
Yeah.
the upload comes out.
And so how
Yeah.
does that work? Like what's the process now for you to get a video out next Tuesday?
So I both like, I will read a lot of news, like I'm reading the news all the time. And then I will also be thinking about the things that are just like important to me. So sometimes there is a video that feels even more evergreen than the thing that is like potentially evergreen just because the story's unfolding. And so there are things that happen in the news that you either decide whether or not you want to touch based on if you feel like you have like a very like gripping and unique take, or if you feel like maybe this is the thing that I can bring something special to in the way that maybe everybody has their take, but maybe no one's talking about this thing, but it's just important to me. And so I think that helps keep you honest from like, there's obviously a chasing virality YouTube perspective where you're like, okay, I could just look at the top 10 things that are trending, pick one of those, hope it's still trending by like number 7 next week. Like you could do it that formulaic, but I feel like you'd lose a lot of the authenticity and you'd lose a lot of your connection to whatever you're talking about. And so it does depend on the day and depend on the subject, because sometimes it's Friday and I don't know. And so, you know, there are days where it's like just that Saturday writing all day and then going out with it that Saturday night. And then maybe you don't get it Saturday night, maybe you get it Sunday night. But I think that there's an element of like openness to whatever the thing could be that I think helps make it easier to pick a topic and to write jokes for the thing that you're talking about because you were so open about it. I think sometimes if you tell yourself, okay, on the calendar, this date has to be this video, so I need to get it by then. Now you start getting yourself in like too much of a like a one-man writer's room place in a way that's not fun. And so it's like process-wise, usually Tuesday we'll just sort of see how the video did and everything. And I feel like people, whether you take advantage of your YouTube community or not, are constantly giving you feedback. And then you have to be the sort of filter of like what's constructive and what's just like not, what's just not helpful. But I think I learn something every week about the people that watch and the people that that come back as well. And a lot of that stuff happens in the premiere, because we'll premiere, and that's when you can be talking to people.
Oh,
and
you
can be
do like live premieres.
yeah,
stuff.
like a live premiere with it helps you along with them figure out what they like about what you're doing. So now in the live premiere, you can be chatting and you can even be, whether it's doing shout outs or things that are for the chat, but also things that are for maybe context or anything that you feel like helps bring more to the community that you're doing this live chat.
So you're responding often in real time as it's premiering.
Yeah, because it's important to when you're in the chat, you're getting something you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because the chat is like the real first. I mean, I'm not telling you because y'all know, but it's the real first impression of what's happening. And I think sometimes comments, especially comments much later, are the sort of packaged expression of how they feel about maybe the piece as a whole, maybe not one joke specifically, and maybe not the first time that they saw it. You may watch a video 3 times and then finally comment like, I just noticed this thing, right? Which has an incredible amount of value to maybe other people in the community who didn't notice that thing. So now if you're writing Easter eggs and if you're planting Easter eggs, which like I try to do in the things that I'm doing, whether it's like a second layer joke or it's something that is like a callback to something else, like I try to put all that stuff in there that makes it fun to even rewatch one day. In the live is when you can tell who's getting that stuff immediately versus like who's like returning and they're like, oh, I really like this thing that happened, or I don't like this thing. It's not necessarily as if it all has to be positive.
How many people watch live?
It ranges, but I'd say like I think we average like anywhere from like 20 to 30,000.
That's amazing.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And then obviously that means that a lot of what I would say gets buried. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
like it's like you can't really be keeping up the way you could keep up back in the day when it was like 1,000 or 500 or something like that. But it's still something that I think is like super necessary to the process as a whole. And even though I'm being like super long-winded, back to what you were saying, I think by Wednesday, I'm thinking about next week in a much more serious way. Because sometimes, who knows, you might have a great weekend where 3 different things happen. And I usually do 3 dates on the road. So then that's 3 different nights to like
Pull from.
Pull from.
Yeah.
And so then there are some nights where I will be able to pull from that show and I just know I'm like, that felt so good. We got it. Like that subject, that thing is kind of like done because I could spend the next 2 days. But then you also sometimes get yourself in a place of second guessing yourself because you're like, oh man, like Toronto was amazing, but then Detroit was also amazing. So then you can get into like a weird headspace of second guessing yourself. Whereas knowing and trusting with the people that were there, that they had an amazing time and you had an amazing time performing it, and that was the one, is something that I think also really helps the experience stay fun and fresh and everything. And then maybe you move on to the second night that you're on the road with a different thing. So you can also be in a place where you're not too worried because you're like, well, we have this other thing that I think is also good to put out. And now you give yourself options. So it's not as if I try to like sort of live in that way of like starting from full scratch. Because there's also times I've written something and I've thrown it out because I'm like, oh, I don't like how this feels. Or like, as I learn more about a subject or a topic, I'm like, oh, actually, this is not the move. Like I think the jokes are funny and everything, but let me not get into this thing because
or like the story has evolved too much since you recorded it.
And like, or even the story will evolve in a way where I'm like, I know that I am not expressly a journalist or anything, but I never want to be just so wrong about something that I'm misrepresenting. Outside of jokes, like I think that when you're joking, you can obviously misrepresent yourself and whatever. But like if I'm talking about something in any pocket of the set seriously, I don't want to not know what I'm talking about. And it's probably going to happen because I'm human. But if I learn more and then learning more changes how I feel about it, I'm like, let me step away from this thing actually and either revisit it or like cut it, you know? So
the live premiere thing I think is fascinating. That feels like an athlete watching game tape. Where like
Sure,
it kind of, my assumption would be that that's a painful experience. And maybe that's just because my history of like reading comments and watching game tape, but maybe not. Maybe it's more of like,
no, I'm a pretty sensitive person. It can be.
Okay.
No,
Yeah. I was like,
no. It's easy to get in my feelings.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even like when I'm editing and someone comes over and they're like, let me check out what you're working on. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, hold on.
But also, I think at least when it comes to stand-up, I can only speak to stand-up. In my opinion, for people who upload stand-up, whether that is on YouTube or any other platform, to me, you already did the hardest thing, which was doing it for the people that are there. And the people that are there give you the feedback that you should actually be listening to, like in a deep way.
Yeah.
If the people there aren't laughing, then you either need to rewrite the thing or the thing might not be funny.
Yeah.
But if people are laughing in the video, like I always go back to that where sometimes there'll be like back when news was calmer, there would be some comedian said something and it got people in an uproar and it for some reason makes it to CNN and then they're talking about it. And then the people that they have on as a panel are talking about how that's not funny. But then when you watch the clip, the people are laughing.
Right.
So you may not think it's funny, but it's like, and don't get me wrong. I don't try to tell people what is and isn't funny. I can only tell people what is and isn't funny for me, like specifically. And there are things even as a joke writer and as someone who really loves joke writers and loves other comics, there are times where I will like not like a joke at all. I'll actually be like, in my head, I'll be like, that's messed up. Structurally incredible. Like that, like I'll be like, man, that's not nice, but did you hit the nail on the head? That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. And so I think that because I am in this thing and because I love it so much, I can separate a person from the thing or the intention or whatever. I think I can look at it a different way. And so watching the premiere versus doing the set, don't get me wrong, it still means a lot to me if people in the premiere are not enjoying it for whatever reason, especially a reason that's not necessarily technical. Like way back in the day, over a year ago, we had a video that the sound was like not good. And it was not good from a source from the board. Mm-hmm. So it was just like it was like nearly conscionable how bad this was. And then we worked with people who tried to help us fix it and got it like a little bit better. But then that's when that's what the comments about, you're like, yeah, no, I take that note very seriously. But then when it's about the jokes, you're like, okay, what's their feedback? Yeah. Because sometimes it is like spot on where I'm like, oh, actually, I didn't mean it that way. So if it looks that way, and I don't even mean in getting offended. I mean in not getting the joke. You know, like if people don't get the joke, you as the comedian didn't do your job. Like walking them through the joke later still won't make it funny. Right. No one's ever been led to the punchline and been like, oh. That just does not work. It can work in a movie maybe because there can be that delayed like, oh, that's funny. Mm-hmm. But if I just did the joke and now I'm walking you through it, there's no hope. We're going off a cliff together.
Definitely. Yeah. So maybe they're expressing something in the premiere that certain people who knows at the live show maybe were thinking, but didn't have a forum to even express.
Exactly. So then through the live show, through the premiere, through the comments, and through community posts and polls, you get a sense of what everyone is thinking and feeling all the time, which can help inform your decisions. I don't think that any creator should be like completely led by them. Because then when you get into too much of a Build-A-Bear career, it can make you do something you don't want to do.
Totally.
But I think that if you are, let's say you're split between two different things and you're like, I wonder what people actually think. And then you ask them, it's like that's if you want to talk about like legacy media, they pay people for that. They're so scared to ask. They're so scared to come to you and ask that they're like, okay, look, we won't come to everybody. We're going to pay 6 of you to sit in a room. We're going to bring snacks. And then you're going to watch half of a trailer. And before we pay for the rest of the trailer to be done, we're going to ask you what you think. And it's like, look, that thing may have worked when TV and everything was more homogenous and a lot of attention was more centered towards like a few big outlets. But now, if the people come, ask them, and then they'll tell you. They're not going to lie to you to set you up. They're not gonna then you're gonna ask them
collectively lie to you.
that'd be,
what subject
maniacal
interests
group of
y'all the
fans.
most,
Yeah.
right? It's like, do you want to see, who knows? Like, and let's say I have two things. I'm like, guys, I have this set on tech, but then I also have this set on like how like all the glitter is missing. Most of the world's glitter, like no one can find it. So do you want tech or do you want the glitter set? You can just ask them.
Is the glitter set real? Is that a real set?
I can't talk about it yet, but it might be.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean,
I vote for the glitter.
But
set.
hypothetically,
Yeah, hypothetically,
there could be a
we're
glitter
going
set
glitter,
somewhere.
yeah.
We can't find it.
and it's like no one's gonna say I really want to see the glitter set, and then when you premiere the glitter set, be like, Psh,
This guy did the
this
glitter
guy,
set.
I can't believe this guy.
I can't believe he fell for it.
Yeah. It's like there might be 3 people online like that, but that's not most people. You know.
I actually think the premiere thing is an extension of what you said about showing up and being really present for the people who are there for you. Because if 20,000 people are showing up for you on a Tuesday night to watch your set, that's a big deal. And we spent some time earlier this year and did an event with Kevin Hart, and he was talking about how he still does stand up. You know, and like Kevin Hart doesn't need to do stand up if he doesn't want to. But he was talking about how like he wants to, for as far as he can, always show up in front of his fans, like physically.
Yeah.
Be like, I'll be there in front of you. I will watch your face while I say something to see how you're reacting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think as a performer, like that craft is so important. And also like you said, that level of feedback is completely different than any other level of feedback.
Yeah.
There's nothing like standing in a room like and delivering to people. And we do a lot of speaking engagements. And so like you can feel immediately when you stand on a stage if you have the room or if you don't have the room.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is a different feeling of like when you say something and the room laughs or the room claps or the room, you feel them. Or the inverse of that is one of the worst feelings in the world where you just don't have
but
the
it's
room.
also incredibly powerful. Like I've found a lot of confidence in knowing when I don't have the room
Yeah.
and knowing it's okay. Being like, okay,
Sometimes
right
this
now
happens.
we don't have the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like-
when you don't have them in a way that is like spectacular, when you don't have them in a way that's like fundamental. Oh, y'all hate me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'd
Y'all
rather
didn't
be on
even
your
know me a
phones.
minute ago. Like before I walked up, nobody knew who I was, and now I'm here, and y'all are like, oh, we don't like this. Oh, we.
Like being able to sit in that, and it's nowhere near a comedian, I'm sure. Like no one gets more feedback more often than a stand-up comedian, but we do have a taste of that. And
We felt bombing in multiple different ways, and we're not trying to be funny.
But we're trying to make sure you're having a good
just trying to
time,
make sure
at
people
least
have a
at the
good
bare
time.
minimum. Like, you're
Sure.
entertained.
And also you have to, whether it's online or in person, be like acutely aware of what's going on around you. I think that level of awareness will then inform how you feel about whatever's happening. Because there are some scenarios that they're set up so poorly for you to do well that you can kind of let go and be like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm like maybe performing for you in person or you're posting something online, but the queen did just die. So that's gonna be people's day.
Right.
That's gonna be. I don't know if you can sit here and be like, "Oh, it's a 7 out of 10. What happened?" It's like the queen died.
Yeah, today wasn't the day.
She passed. You know what I mean? And that's something that you, no matter how good things go online or how many people show up to the shows in person, you just have to have that like acute awareness of yourself and where you land in things, and then hopefully at least is my hope that like ego won't be able to wedge its way between you and your creative, or you and the people who enjoy you, or you and your sort of mission and goals, you know?
Do you consider yourself a writer?
Yeah.
So
No, for sure.
I think we can learn a lot from comedy. Like I think humor is one of the greatest ways to communicate information, right? It's why we look at like stand-up comics and they're able to explain the world to us in ways that we aren't comfortable having conversations about, whether that's through politics or through like human interactions or race or all these like touchy subjects that are so digestible through comedy when they're wrapped into a joke or a context where we're supposed to laugh. And so I was curious because I think as storytellers, we seriously can learn so much from the anatomy or the structure of a joke. With you being a writer, like how do you view the structure of a joke or the principles of what makes something funny?
Yeah, I think you laugh for a few different reasons. I think you can laugh from recognition. Oh, I did that thing. Oh, I've thought that. Oh, I also, have been in that situation.
How would I approach a gorilla?
Yeah, how would I approach a gorilla? Probably not well.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I think about my
probably.
speed in that context.
Same.
By the way,
I think about my footwork.
Yeah, I think I could run.
And my deceptiveness. I think I'd go left,
yeah.
go hard right.
Yeah.
Man, no, I'm playing dead immediately. I'm be like,
interesting.
Dog, you got me.
Never crossed my mind.
You already got me. I know. All my limbs being on my body, that's like an optical illusion. You got me good.
Okay.
You don't remember when you killed that dude? You killed me too.
Yeah.
I think that you can laugh from recognition. You can laugh from surprise. Like something is just so silly, so out of pocket, or so like disgusting and appalling. You laugh. You can even laugh from being uncomfortable, and you can also laugh from like strong agreement. And there's with all these things there are dangers. So then if you lean wholly into just one specific lane of how to make people laugh, you do end up potentially down the line becoming a caricature of yourself almost, because if the only thing you've ever practiced and enjoyed about making people laugh was the disgusting whatever, then you become like so much openly and like predictably trying to shock that you end up undercutting yourself. If you try to get people laugh too much from agreement, that's where we get the clapter stuff, which like I try to like undercut that as much as I can. Like I try, if I feel like a laugh is clapter, I will just try to keep talking over it.
I've never heard that clapter.
Yeah. It's just like applause from like, oh, I agree so much. And it's like that one, I'm glad you're listening and I'm glad you're enjoying what I'm saying. But like if you're going to clap, I'd like for it to be because I brought something home or because the thing is so funny that you can't help yourself.
You're applauding the comedy, not
Yeah.
point.
And so you see it a lot in like political comedy and stuff like that. So then I'll try to like, especially if it doesn't mess up the rhythm of the set too much, like bulldoze through that, because that's not what I'm going for. And then when it comes to recognition, if you are only trying to make things funny through recognition, that is also where you get into trouble of like lots of parallel thinking, lots of like other issues. So I think there's so many different ways to make someone laugh, and you can incorporate them all. You get this really great quilted sort of masterwork of what a set could be, right? And when it comes to storytelling, I think that there's all these pieces to a story that sometimes the best version of telling that story is jumbling them up. Sometimes the best version is chronological, and sometimes the best version is like from back to front. Like I like telling a story where I was in danger because I feel like you're more apt to laugh because I lived. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm telling you about the time I almost died, so everything's fine. Like we made it just by virtue of me being here. We made it through.
We can joke about it.
So it's like a safe container to laugh inside of.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so I think that through, which I hope I'm answering your question, but through the different ways, and if you can find other ways, like there's things about what make people laugh that we sort of lose as we get older, and so there are things that I try to do that are like mixed in with what made me laugh when I was little. So like even in the 100 Men versus Gorilla set, there's a whole point where I just stopped speaking because I'm like, when I was little, noises made me laugh. So let me see if I can like do that. Like let me see if like we can through the experience of us all sitting together as an audience, let's see if we can get back to this place where like just the jingling of the keys makes you laugh. Because as we get older, not only does your taste get more sophisticated, but like you've experienced enough stuff that like, okay, that's funny, but that's the 15th time I've seen a joke like that.
Right.
And so the way to get original and creative again is to like try to go back and pare things down to a place that you haven't been since you were like 6 years old. So now I'm just like grunting, seeing if these grunts like hit, like if they were the words, And
did they hit?
I thought they hit, but also it's not for me to say.
Right.
You might watch it and be like, that's not hitting at all.
Well, you've had to have experienced some time where something hasn't hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
What's something, give me that story of like a experience where something really didn't hit.
So my favorite one is, okay, so there used to be this club in Chicago on the South Side called Jokes and Notes. And I remember my first feature weekend there. Like you all may already know, but in case people don't, on a regular club weekend as a comic, there's the host who does like 10, 12 up top, gets people warmed up and everything. There's the feature who usually does 20, 25, maybe even 30. And they're like someone who you didn't necessarily come to see, but they help make sure that the audience is like even more like warmed up, ready to go. And then there's the headliner who like does their hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And a lot of people sometimes will say, which this is so interesting to me about comedy. A lot of people will sometimes say like, why did the two other people just get the guy that I paid the ticket for? And it's one of the reasons is, one, you're going to be late. Right. I promise you're going to be late. Especially the bigger the person is, the later you're going to be. Because now you got to park. Now you got to get through ticketing. You got to take your keys out. You got to put them back in. You got to get your popcorn. Whatever the thing is, you're going to be late. So even if you don't see these people, because I was a feature for a long time, and like you may not even see their set, but they help buffer for you. For sure. Then there's also a thing of like, I don't know what it is, because apparently this isn't as much of a thing in Europe sometimes and in other parts of the world, but as much as you paid for that ticket and as excited as you are to see that person, you're not ready for them to just come out. Yeah. If they just come out and start doing jokes, you're almost gonna not know what to do to a certain degree. And it's not impossible. Totally. There are people who have had to do it before, but having a host who's like, y'all ready? Yeah. Just that is great. Even if you don't have a feature, right? So anyway, I'm featuring for this comic. I'm going up. This is my first feature weekend ever. And so I'm doing like I have to do 20 minutes. I think I may have 35, 40 minutes, right? And we're talking like early in. I think I was like maybe a year or some change or 2 years into comedy. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? You know, also picking my set list, and I'm going through. First half, I'm like killing. I'm like properly, and I can't even believe it. I'm killing. And then like, I don't know what it is, because it's taken me a long time to like build a self-awareness about myself and then translate that over to what other people might find funny about what I'm doing. And I was not there yet. So first 10 minutes were amazing. And the last 10 minutes, you can see in the faces of the people in the audience, they're like, we trusted you. We really gave you a chance. Because you got to remember, it's like I'm on the South Side and everything, but I'm me. So I'm like this weird guy, and I'm like, I've got like weird energy, and my stories and my perspectives are like odd and stuff like that. So I don't have the swag that some of those other comics had. I'm not like a cool guy in that way, right? And I think that for anyone who's ever worried about not being cool or been awkward or anything like that, it's not that you are not this thing. You just have to find what it is about you that brings people to you in that way. Where now I feel like I'm cool because I know I'm not cool. So I'm never trying to be anything that I'm not. And that is like a level of, I'd like to get to know this person totally. That you can't reach when you're trying to obviously be a cool guy that you're not.
Do you remember the joke or jokes that lost the room?
Oh yeah, like I started talking about toad facts. Like I was hitting them. I was hitting them with stuff where they were like, what's wrong with you? Like
you just crossed over into a weirdness they weren't interested in.
You got overconfident.
It's like, and I was just like, y'all heard about these sharks? And it was like, you could feel it in the room. People were like, not my money, not what I paid for. Are you serious? Hey, you going on about the shark? And I'm hitting them with the shark facts too. And I'm like, oh yeah, and then this is what the wingspan would be if a shark was a bird. Like I'm just,
and in your head you're like, I haven't even gotten to toad facts.
Yeah, and I'm like, start to slowly bomb, right? and then I get almost wrapped up. The last joke does okay, which doesn't really save you. If you're bombing in the middle, you have to kill at the end, or else people remember the bomb. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then I'll never forget this. The host goes up after me, and he literally chastises them, the audience. He's like, look, some people have dreams. All right? Y'all let your dreams fall by the wayside, so you hate a young cat trying to get up here doing his thing, right? And so then I'm in my head, I'm like, no, I deserve to like in my head, I'm like, no, don't help, right? Yeah. But then he's like, look, I'll never forget this. He's like that young man got something, and he had you rolling for some of it, and then y'all turned on him,
man.
right? And so people want to say I knew whoever win, but they don't want to say how they acted back when. Yeah. And it was like was really like giving them the business over me, Bob. And I was like, no, I deserve. Like in the back, I'm like waving. I'm like, no,
it's okay.
They're right. They're right about me.
Like Sharks was too far.
So then he's like, I'm gonna bring up I'm gonna bring up your headliner, the person that you came to see, and y'all gonna go crazy. But what I don't want to see is y'all acting the way y'all acted for my young brother. And so brings up headliner obviously kills. That's who they came to see, and he's like, and he's not killing off of that thing being weird or anything. Like he goes straight into his set and destroys, right? So then for me, I'm taking account of what happened, and I'm like, okay, that last half was like bad. Like it's like it makes people laugh in like alt rooms on the west side of Chicago, but it's not making people laugh right now. So I need to switch it up. You know what I mean? And I don't have time to like recalibrate how I deliver it in a way that's funny. And so then next show I do the set that ended up killing for the rest of the weekend. Right. So I'm switched up the jokes. Whole set goes well, and I'm like elated. Like I get off and I'm like, because I really feel like I redeemed myself because it's your first weekend. So the owner's also watching,
right?
And so she's like, she even said that was better, like because she would take that weekend away if you were just bombing. She can't have people bombing all weekend, right? And so I get done, and the host comes up, and he was not watching my set. So he assumes that I bombed again. So he starts into the same speech he did before, where he's like, some people got dreams. All right. And just because y'all let y'all dreams fall by the wayside, y'all want to hate on a young brother out here doing his best. And then in the back, I'm like, no, it went better. I think about that so much. I think about that. That's like maybe my favorite time that I bombed, just because I really redeemed myself and nobody saw it. Because the new audience doesn't know.
They don't know.
They weren't at the first show. So they're like, no, we like it. And then the host is like,
this guy generally bombed.
Yeah. It was just like, he was so sure I had bombed. And he was like, everybody wants to say they knew whoever back when. They don't want to say how they act. It was the same speech, identical. I couldn't believe it. Felt like a speech that he had written before he ever met me.
Now he's into his own
did it
speech.
so perfectly twice. As I'm in the back, like, no, I did. Oh gosh. Oh,
that's like, I do feel like the comedians have an upper hand in this modern world. Like I truly believe that, because I think to know what it feels like to bomb on stage and to get back up and do it again and get that many reps, it's like, it's not an outlier when you bomb. It's actually like definitively a part of the process, because you're experimenting with material and you're trying things. And so then when you take that craft to YouTube and you bring it to social, like you're comfortable, I would assume, like when you get a 10 of 10 on YouTube, like the worst performing episode of the last 10, like you probably look at it in the same way as like, okay, I got to tweak some things, or like people didn't like that, but it's all good. I got another rep, like it's coming up.
Yeah, because I think as long as you're like, I can't stress enough how much I'm enjoying what I'm doing and like how obsessed I am with comedy in general. Like I agree with you. I think that it's one of not just the most important, but one of the most impactful things that we have as communicators, right? And there's so many people, like I genuinely want a thing that I know I probably can't have, but that's what keeps me chasing. It's like, I want to be like the best, like best writer, best performer, best everything. And then I watch other people go up and I'm like, oh, I'm not the best. Cause you're watching people you really respect and that are really phenomenal at what they do. And even if it's not what you do, like you can obviously only be the best at your thing, but still, because art is so subjective in that way, it keeps a fun little competition in my head of like, man, I just want to go up and I want to rip and everything. And then you see someone else and you're like, it's like if you went to go try out for the Jets Yeah, I mean, and you get there and you're like, I can kick pretty far. And then you see one of them kick and you're like, oh. But I think that thing is really good. So when you see a 10 out of 10 or you see something that maybe you thought would do really well and it didn't do as well as you thought, it is just a piece of the overall thing. It's not about a special, it's about a catalog. It's like, if I can have the strongest, most robust, wide-ranging and like eclectic catalog of jokes ever, then I'll be very happy. And I think that that's a thing that I feel I can work towards in a way that's really productive, because once again, you hear sometimes people go after other people, or like, my special's better than this special, or my set, why'd they get this thing, whatever. But the thing that I know I can do that I'm obsessed with doing is having like the best catalog that's ever been done, you know?
That's a pretty different model for comedy, though.
Sure,
like,
sure.
Comedy, like, as a business model, of course it has to do with touring. And I'd be curious, like, how much of your money is made on touring and ticket sales versus how much of the money is made on like AdSense? Because 100 million views plus on long form content, like 30, 40 minute plus content, I have to imagine makes a good amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have any like sponsorships or anything, so it's really just the ads. But I think a majority of the money that I make comes from touring, and I think that that's really good because it also keeps my head, like, even if I wanted to just be money focused, it keeps my head on the thing that's important, which is the live show.
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Because I think that if YouTube ever took over and was 90% of what I made versus the tour, how can you not start to deviate a little bit and like, oh, maybe I should try to cover this thing just because it's trending, whatever, even if I have nothing to say about it. Then you get yourself into trouble. And so I think that economically speaking, most comics are going to make their money off of touring, which is good because that's when you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. Because at the end of the day, when people, I'm not saying it upsets me or bothers me that much, but sometimes people will say, "Oh, you're my favorite content creator," and it's like, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you watching, and I'm glad you're having a good time, and I hope you keep coming back. But like, I am a comic first before everything, and I hope that you'll come to a show live so that we can have an experience together that is like exactly what I'm trying to do.
But I have to imagine that the YouTube videos, it's a really nice symbiotic relationship, right? Because the videos promote the live shows, and the live shows create the content for the videos. Yeah, right. It's kind of like this really nice.
And you also have to be even more mindful and careful about what you write, create, do, because that ends up being what people expect when they come. And so I've been very blessed that now what people expect when they come is for me to talk about whatever I want, because I talk about whatever I want. And I think that it's possible, especially as a comic, to paint yourself into a corner where the thing that gets you popular becomes the thing that people expect. And when you only do it for a portion of the show, they're like, oh, okay. You're like a regular stand-up. I thought you did this thing. And it's like, it's, you know,
putting out such a variety on a regular basis.
Yes, as much as I can. So that way, sometimes, obviously, when I do the meet and greets and stuff like that, because I try to do meet and greets with people whenever the venue allows it and whenever like time allows it and everything. And sometimes you do have that sort of thing where they're like, oh, I wanted you to talk about politics, or I thought you covered this thing that's happening in the news, whatever. But to me, at the end of the day, those are just guesses. That's not a real disappointment. And you stayed for the meet and greet to tell me that in a positive way and take a picture, so you're not upset with me.
You're saying, I love this about you.
Yeah. Whereas if I did something else and then I did a regular stand-up show, you might be like, oh, okay, I kind of got sold a odd ticket then.
Yeah.
You know?
By the way, I was going to say about the Jets thing, where you like go out to try out for the Jets and you think you can kick the ball and you see someone kick the ball. I do think the difference is if you're someone who's then like, all right, I'm going to go home and try and kick the ball further. Right? Versus like, oh, I can never make the Jets.
Sure.
There's a big difference between those two personality types, right?
No, that's very fair. And that is how I feel, is that like, I don't know. I don't even know if I have favorites or like deep influences because I really love what people are doing. Like I love watching comedy. I love
Who are some of those comedians that you love right now that you feel like are really doing it right now?
Like I think Jordan Jensen, Eagle Wit. Obviously, then there's people who are established like Maria Bamford, T. Murph. I used to love when I was coming up watching Danny Callis and like Jonah Jerkins and like Baldhead, and there's so many. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's like there's obviously like the Rushmore that people are always going to mention, like Burr, Chappelle,
sure.
like everything. But it's like Wanda Sykes is amazing. Like it's almost like hard to fathom how much there is. Yeah. And so it's like you especially when you get to go to a show and you watch everybody and you're like, oh, that's because it's all down to like your way of thinking. And because ways of thinking are going to be so singular to a person, if you are being yourself, like I was saying before about like knowing that I'm not cool is like, I don't know. I think that is unironically what is like attracting people sometimes, because I'm not like an intimidating figure at all. In fact, when people are very comfortable walking up there are some people who are like, you look like you want to talk. And it's like, and I won't even be doing anything. And I think that embracing that is what has really helped, you know?
Were you going to keep going?
No, I almost coughed.
Okay.
That was I was stifling a cough. Which seemed like it was going to be more words.
Like he was loading up.
There's a lot going on my end right now, and I hope the mic isn't picking it up. I have been farting like crazy, and it's
haven't heard it.
It's
I
so
heard someone's
I haven't heard it.
Yeah,
is it yours?
No, it's me. Okay. It's like I am bubbling over here, and I think it's because I didn't eat, and then I had that bar and those chips
and Lays,
and so it's like I had something after not having anything all day, and so my stomach is like, this isn't a meal, but we'll burn it. We'll make it work. And so now what is happening is like audible violence, and I hope the mic isn't picking up, but if you heard it over there, then it's in here.
I wasn't sure.
That this edit is going to be, who edits the
nobody here.
You aren't hearing it?
It's not being picked up.
Thank you for lying to me. That's because if you told me you could hear it, I don't know what I would do when I left here. I'd probably sit in that loud bathroom and scream while I let the water run. That's crazy. It's because man, I was thinking about you this entire time. I was like, these are bubble guts.
Yeah, man, bubble guts are worse.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst.
Especially when you didn't earn it. Like I didn't do anything. If I had barbecue right before I came here, and I was like, hey, we're gonna have like a very sleepy episode. I'm full of like pulled chicken or something. That'd be one thing. But I legitimately have not eaten except for the 2 snacks.
That's wild. Why?
That is crazy.
I was busy before this. We were doing a photo shoot for some of like the tour promo.
Okay, got
and I do a yearbook at the end of every year. So we're taking some photos for the yearbook and stuff like that. And there was not time to eat, just time to fart. So
safe space. You can do it here.
No, that's very kind. That's very kind. I'm glad we're social distancing as well, because oh man, because this is like a first impression. We never met before.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can't smell me until at least the 3rd time.
That's right.
We chat. Yeah.
Well, thanks for admitting it. I appreciate it.
I felt like I had to say something because it's been a while. Like we've been talking for a minute. I don't know where this will land in the edit, but the first time I felt it was actually when I sat down. I was like, we're in for it.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, this is a problem.
No.
Yeah. You'll notice I haven't moved. My man's been adjusting.
You had
No.
Adjusted.
You've
been pinned to this side.
No, you are going to make yourself comfortable, and I appreciate that about you. I wish I could be more like that. But me being comfortable is an oxymoron.
I want to ask you about something we haven't talked about is The Daily Show. That's how I first came across you, was seeing you as a correspondent on The Daily Show. And then I saw you come across YouTube. Where does that fit into your schedule, to your ecosystem? Like, what role does that play?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like between all that you're putting out on YouTube, how much you're touring, I often think, how does that even fit?
Yeah. So basically, they're super supportive, and they've basically made it so that my weekends are mine and everything. So I tour on the weekends, and then I get back by Monday, and I'm in town Monday through Thursday to be available to be on the show and everything. And I used to be a writer there before I was a correspondent. And when I was a writer, it was a little bit tougher because I just had to make sure that the schedule for the weekend got me back in time, because as a writer, I had to be in earlier than I do now as a correspondent. And so, yeah, it basically works by being the place that I'm going to be for the week. And then I tour on the weekend, and then I come back and repeat.
So are you then sometimes performing things on The Daily Show that you did not write?
Yeah. So what we'll do is if I have an idea, I can pitch it, or somebody has an idea for me, they can pitch it.
Okay.
And then I work with whichever writers get assigned. So that's like the stark difference between like being at Daily Show and then doing stand-up, is that like in stand-up, it's just me by myself. And at the show, I get to collaborate with these amazing writers who I used to write with. Like I've shared an office for a long time with one of my favorite writers, who's Devin Del Quante, and he's been at the show for a good while. And then I also work with like Nicole Conlon, Kat Radley, Dina Hashim, Matt Koff, like some really fantastic people. Zach DeLanzo's hilarious, like Scott Herkman, Scott Sherman, like all these people are so funny. And so anyone can get assigned to work with you. Like I've worked with David Angelo before and everything, and it'll be usually like 2 people that write with you so that it's in your voice for when you perform it the night of.
It's interesting because Daily Show is essentially like a YouTube show. Like I consume the Daily Show exclusively on YouTube. I consume most of television programming, whether it's late night or SNL or the Daily Show, on YouTube. So you're essentially, does it feel like that when you're in there? Like you guys are producing for YouTube, or does it feel like something different?
I think it feels like something different because we know it's for like the broadcast. We know it's for TV, and it is very fortunate that it basically works as well on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I think that when you're making anything, knowing what you're making it for first and foremost is like very important. But then there's things that are going to translate or not translate in depending on how they're packaged for social and for YouTube. So even for me, one of the things that I did that was like seemingly, I guess, unique on TikTok with working with the team and everything. My buddy Brian has like chopped up the video to make the social videos and stuff like that. And he was like, I think we should post the longest version of these things so you get the whole joke rather than doing the parts. Because, obviously there's like something to be said for potential virality when you grab somebody in the first 4 seconds and the video's only a minute. They may even watch it again, whatever. But he's like, you're telling a story that's like 6 minutes long, 8 minutes long, 9 minutes long. Let's just post the whole thing, see what happens. And then it did do well. And so that's something where that opened me up to not be afraid to post things the way that I see them working on stage on TikTok and everything. And I think the same thing potentially goes for the show. I think the show made for broadcast in the way that it's made happens to translate perfectly to YouTube because of the things like what you're saying before, where so many people are watching YouTube on their TV.
Yeah.
What's the difference? What the source is.
Totally.
And so that's why I think they're like perfect, one hand washing the other,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd have to imagine you're, I was going to ask you, like, do you have aspirations to do a special with like a Netflix, or do you feel like you're already doing it? Like, I know you mentioned like one of your goals is to build the biggest catalog of content, but I feel like you have so many different things now that I would consider making it. Right? Like getting a gig with the Daily Show. It's like, I have a lot of comedian friends. That's like a massive dream of a lot of my friends, right?
Yeah.
Becoming a correspondent. That's another like huge dream, to be like on air, on camera for the Daily Show. And then you have like a thriving stand-up career where you're touring. That's another huge dream of a lot of my comic friends. And then you're filming it and millions of people are watching it. That's another dream, right? And so I'm curious if you feel like satiated almost in this world of like, oh man, I made it. Or if you still have the desire of like the HBO or the Netflix special, if that still holds a place in your world, or is this the modern making it for a comedian?
Yeah, I think that in whatever form it takes, whether that's with, a streamer or it stays on YouTube or anything like that, I think the building of the catalog is career long. And I think everything that helps that is going to be a blessing. And I would look forward to like engaging with it, because everything has its place and everything has its own sort of look as well.
Yeah.
And so to me, what I want to do now is like, as best as I can, and I'm not necessarily the most equipped for it, but the two things I'm looking to do now are like really express the catalog in every way, and in basically giving back as much as I can to comedy. You can do it in a number of ways. You can do it by bringing people on the road with you. You can do it by like donating money to causes and everything. You can do it by putting on shows. And like, I try to do all of that stuff in tandem with what I'm doing now. But I think that the real goal, the thing that I'm chasing now, is to make sure that I'm like nurturing this thing that is taking care of me and my family. It allows me to take care of my mom and my aunt, and it gives me so much life, and it hopefully is like a way that I can help other people, because it's like I'm not built to be a doctor. Never mind not being smart enough. I'm very squeamish. Like I'm not going to be the one to help you. You know what I mean? So jokes is how I do it, and as long as I can make sure that jokes are fulfilling that purpose, then I think that's the thing that I'm like really chasing now. It's like, do you want a special with a stream or all this stuff like that? It's like I'm not looking to turn anything down. I want to do movies, produce movies. I want to do music, produce music, like all these things. But as far as what I look at as the next goal is, once again, a thing that I think is kind of fittingly unattainable, of like being the best and giving back to comedy and having that sort of loop going on. And even if it's just going on to you, even if you're just sitting in your own like semi-delusion, I think letting yourself get there is like a step that I don't know if I'll ever do, because I feel like as soon as you think you're the best, you start to not be. The thing that I would love insight from y'all on is I have all of these hours of comedy, but one thing that we haven't branched out to yet is just audio, like just the sort of audio space, and I'm trying to figure out right now if we do just packages and packages of jokes, especially the evergreen portion. So not necessarily just the topical stuff, but like the really evergreen stuff that exists within those videos that are those jokes that I've written, and how to package them for comedy albums and for like audio streaming.
Is that still like, that's so interesting. Cause one of the most engaging pieces of entertainment I think I ever got when I was a kid was Dane Cook's comedy CD. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I would just play it in the car. Yeah. And I'd play it for friends, and I would think it was so funny.
Was it Retaliation or Harmful if Swallowed?
Harmful if Swallowed.
Yeah.
And then I got Retaliation because I thought it was like, I just thought this concept, this premise of comedy albums was so funny.
Yeah.
And then I went to school at UC Santa Cruz, and I drove from LA to Santa Cruz, and I found like, the car I was driving had Sirius XM. There was like a comedy radio, and it's like 7-minute bits from comedians, and I was like, this is so enjoyable to listen to. And I guess what I said to you, I think my only challenge to you there is like, I have watched your videos where I turn off the video on YouTube and just listen to it. So does it already exist? Does your audio experience already exist?
I think it does.
What's the value of making an audio experience to you?
I think the audio experience is a repackaging of the things that are evergreen about these sets. So that way, years from now, when people are hopefully not talking about the president or like the new developments that we're focused on right now, you'll be able to see all the things that are evergreen through a repackaging of like, here, this thing is funny. And this thing is funny in the way that a comedy album that's just about a bunch of topics that the comic wanted to talk about was funny. Because I think that underneath everything that people see as topical and current is all of that stuff.
Couldn't you do compilations from each year, like sort of a best of. And those could also be, they could live in video form because they'll be evergreen on YouTube as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something you can do.
It's also, you can do like a wrapped, like 2024 wrap.
Sure,
like essentially
sure.
like the best of.
Yeah.
And like the yeah.
There's also like a interesting rise in people buying cassette tapes right now and buying like Walkmans.
Yeah. No, there's like,
really? Like collectors and stuff. And I think it's obviously maybe not like a massive scale play, but if you did something just for your most engaged, like the 20 to 30,000 that are there every Tuesday night, can you give them like a really unique experience where they can like own this audio only experience that has cool art on it? And maybe you sell it with like a Walkman or something, or I don't know. I just think that's like, fans could be like, okay, not only do I watch this guy on Tuesday nights, but on my shelf, that proves to me I'm a Josh Johnson fan.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be really cool, especially you can do really fun things with the art that only exist on that piece.
I think you're touching at something though right now of like the, we're living in a week to week world, like where whenever we produce something, like I think what you were talking about of like being in a theater and thinking about the people there, it's also like, it is challenging to think about the video you're putting out next and not the next 5 videos when you're a creator. Or to even after you've put out a video, continue thinking about it. You're often on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're touching on there is like, how do you immortalize yourself a bit as an artist and as a creative, where musicians, I think, have this because of albums. Like, I'll listen to Louis Armstrong. He's got an album, like his music is immortalized. And I think today in the world that we're moving, it's much harder to do that. It's much harder to go like, here's my work. People do it through books. Right? Like, hey, I got a book. You can buy this and put it on your shelf. That is my thoughts. Like here's my book. But it's harder in our worlds of, I guess it happens through comedy specials, right? Like Chris Rock's comedy specials or like some of these vintage comedy specials. But it is like, is that what you're touching on of like, how do I preserve a capsule of my work?
And also, how do you then peel back the layers? Because that's what's happening. It's like the current event thing is there's the shell over the evergreen thing. Right. And the evergreen thing is what exactly. Yeah. Because the evergreen thing is like there, in the set that I did about adolescence, I'm talking about adolescence and the whatever opening idea of it is that I'm going to be talking about this thing that's like mega viral on Netflix. But the thing I'm really talking about is masculinity and how to like navigate a new world, how to navigate a world that doesn't need you to be a caveman, Right. And so it's like, that's the thing that I want to make sure doesn't get buried by people being like, adolescence, I heard that was a show. Because I think that after a while, far enough removed from topical ideas, you start to catalog it in your head as something that I don't know or care about. And I think that repackaging isn't trying to double dip. It's literally to sort of open up the fact that this thing was always a little bit something deeper within it, you know, because it wouldn't be every single joke I've ever told. Like, when I do things about the Barbie movie, it's like, yeah, that part is just the topical stuff. But anything I did about dating underneath that is the thing that would sort of live on. Yep. And I'm trying to figure out, like you said, the best way to deliver that to people who want it,
Yeah, I think even just categorizing them, maybe not, I said years before, but maybe it's just by these segments subject matters where it's like, figure out how many of them you have that are important to you. Maybe it's 6 or whatever, and like make the compilations, and then you could release them over like a scheduled period of time where it's like Josh Johnson on dating, right? Comes out, and then you're like, next week it's adolescence.
I feel like Schultz
there's like a look and a feel and a brand to like how you release them.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
What have you learned about YouTube over the past couple of years that you could pass on to people listening and watching?
I think that the best thing, and it's like, it's a thing that was like a hunch, but it is the thing that I learned, is that the thing that I'm doing now, which is whatever you're making, make sure you're making it for those like first 100 people forever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen some really incredible stuff that had 98 views. And it's not only did I hope that this person stuck with it, I hope that they always made things for the first like 50, 98 people who maybe even saw it by accident, who maybe even clicked by accident and then stayed, because I think that numbers start to really distract, and like numbers, they can be fun. They can be fun goals and stuff like that. But behind all those numbers are people. And so if you are still making things with a level of intention, attention, and sincerity that you made it for those 98 people when you thought it would be 0, I think that the product you make when it's much later down the line, and maybe it is 1 million people, is still going to be like incredibly unique and good. Mm-hmm. And I think that like all of the little tricks, all the little tips that people are going to give you to try to get to 1 million will maybe serve you with the algorithm in mind. It maybe will serve you as far as like, maybe your video does need to look a little bit more polished. Maybe the sound is a little scratchy. You know, like those things are not bad things to improve upon. But when you get obsessed with the numbers, it starts to cloud everything else that you're doing. And so making things as if you're a small creator forever will make you like a worthwhile creator forever. To me, at least, I've not seen anyone who has grown that has a video that isn't like something from when they were small that isn't still awesome.
I love that.
Like all of it is, it's crazy. Like I've watched other people who like, I wish I could even name them because I'd like to give shout outs, but then sometimes it's their name, sometimes it's like the idea, but sometimes you watch someone get to 500,000 and they're still making this thing with the level of intention. You can tell when like, and maybe they even have a team now. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but it still feels like you're either talking to me or you're clearly taking a lot of care. What you don't want to have happen is the sort of like, there's a level of like, letting the audience and the trends dictate to you what they want from you, and then you doing that thing, that is very dangerous. And it used to only be like a shock jock thing. Like you used to, when we were kids, it was mostly radio. Like radio were the guys, right? Yeah. If you weren't on TV, radio were like the independent thinkers, saying stuff you're not supposed to say, whatever, even though there's an FCC. But they were the ones that or SEC, they were the ones that were doing the ultra maybe like liberal to start with. Then as their audience got older and their audience got a little bit more conservative because now they had kids, maybe they didn't like all that cursing, all stuff like that, then they also, and look, maybe they're on their own track personally, but then they started to go from like shock jock to like hardcore right-wing commentator conspiracy theorists. And you see that it's like, I don't even know if this is you. I feel like this is you going off of whatever good feedback you get and then trying to give the people what you think they want.
I think that's also fear of losing the thing.
Yeah.
Because you're like, the audience keeps me employed.
And that's I guess what I'm trying to say is that like, no matter numbers wise, anything, none of it is like owned. It's not like yours. Like they may be your subscribers, they may be your followers, whatever, but it's this position that you're in right now being like the shiny new thing or being like top dog or what, it's not yours. It's like you get to visit, and then whatever happens next is up to you. And maybe your visit is a stark difference from 5 years from now. Maybe you're number 1 and then 10 years from now you're number 2, who knows? Or maybe you're number 1 and then you're number 115. But like getting too addicted to the spot and not seeing it as a spot, seeing it as like a permanent state is what makes people not only lose their position, but I think like lose their minds over stuff. And so I think that if you are starting YouTube right now, it's great to have goals and it's great to have things that you want to do and everything. But even as you grow, like keeping things community will keep your work and you, like you as a person taken care of. Because even as the community grows, it's still the same small thing in a way.
Yeah.
No matter how big you get on,
or it should feel like that at least.
Yeah, it should feel like that. Because what I love is when people do like come up to me on the street and they're like, "Oh, I just saw your video on this thing." And it's like, now it's almost like I'm talking to a friend from way back that I sent the video to before I uploaded it. Because then there'd be people like that where I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking of putting this thing out." This is like back when it was just like Comedy Cellar tapes, right? and I'd be like, hey, I'm thinking about putting this thing out. What do you think of this set? You know? And now it's like seeing that person that I sent the thing to after I posted it being like, I really liked it. Yeah. Like I didn't get to watch it all the way through, but like I'm going to finish it when I get home, whatever. And those things are so deeply important. Like it's a thing that I have to constantly remind myself, no matter how good things are going, no matter what things change from 1 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, that like this is for like the catalog and the community. This isn't for being like #1 trending on YouTube today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I hope more people can get down with, because then I think you won't run into as many issues as a creator. So many things, once again, feel like unforced errors of like, why are you wilding out? Everybody likes you. You know, like I've watched that happen. I've watched somebody like,
I've watched it happen to myself.
Yeah. It's like,
it's like speaking to me right
now. No, it's just like you damn near snapped. And it's like, but there's no reason. Like everything, it's all good. And once again, all of these things are like temporary. So being like the biggest you're ever going to be is temporary, but the dips are also temporary. You know, like you keep making things, you keep making them earnestly for people who enjoy them, and you do it with sincerity. It's like, how can you not succeed? You may not be the richest or the most famous, and if those are your goals of like richest, most famous, like you need a hug, but that's not that. Yeah, that's never going to fill that thing. It's like if you're chasing art, then you're going to be like, you're going to be really happy with yourself. Yeah. Years down the art lane, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I love that.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, I think like a lot of creators need to hear that.
Yeah, really I feel like I needed to hear that right now. That's really good.
Well, sweet.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
No, I'm glad that between the farts we got something good.
yeah. There we go.
That man.
Between the farts, that's the episode title.
If you could do me a solid and only let a couple of those through.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add extra.
Yeah, I'll add extra.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do you a solid right now. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah,
great one to end on.
In there. Yeah, and that was a wet one. So
save the best for last.
Yeah, no, we have a problem now. I'm not going to get up. I'm going to need everybody to leave the room, and I will stand up last.
Well, let's cut the
just stay there.
Yeah, let's get you into a car where you can fart in peace.
That means a lot to me. Of course.
Let's do it. All right, Josh.
Thanks
for
so
coming
much.
on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.